You share something that matters to you, something small, something real, and they respond with less than you expected. Not anger, not rejection, just a shrug, a half smile, a change of subject. And suddenly, you're the one wondering if you cared too much. This isn't about them forgetting your birthday or missing an important event. This is quieter, more surgical. You tell them about a promotion you're excited about. They say, "That's cool," and immediately talk about their own day. You show them something you created. They glance at it, nod, and scroll their phone. You express joy, hope, or vulnerability, and they meet it with emotional flatness. What happens next is strange. You don't get angry. You get smaller. You start editing yourself before you speak. You rehearse excitement in your head, wondering if it's worth sharing. You become the one who withholds not out of strategy, but out of self-protection. And here's the part that confuses you most. They didn't do anything. They didn't yell. They didn't insult you. They didn't leave. So why does it feel like something was taken from you? You're not being dramatic. You're not needy for wanting reciprocal emotional energy. What you're re-experiencing is a form of relational control so effective that it doesn't need to announce itself. It's called intermittent reinforcement through emotional withholding. And it works because it targets something deep in your attachment system. You're not weak. You're wired. Let's start with the brain. When you share something meaningful and receive enthusiasm in return, your brain releases dopamine and oxytocin. These are bonding chemicals. They tell your nervous system, this person is safe. This connection matters. But when enthusiasm is withheld, when the response is cool, distracted, or dismissive, your brain doesn't get that reward. Instead, it registers unpredictability. And unpredictability is one of the most powerful psychological triggers in human bonding. Here's why. Intermittent reinforcement. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. You don't win every time, but you win sometimes. So your brain stays locked in, waiting for the next hit. In relationships, when someone withholds enthusiasm inconsistently, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, they create a variable reward schedule. Your nervous system can't predict when you'll receive validation, so it becomes hype. You start monitoring their reactions, reading their tone, adjusting your behavior to maximize the chances of getting that warmth back. This is not conscious. This is your attachment system trying to stabilize a connection that feels unstable. Withholding enthusiasm doesn't look controlling. It looks like indifference. And that's the trap, because indifference forces you to do the work of closing the emotional gap. You become the one who tries harder, who explains more, who seeks reassurance. Meanwhile, the person withholding doesn't have to demand anything. They just have to not give. This is passive power, and it's deeply rooted in evolutionary psychology. In early human groups, social approval meant survival. Exclusion meant danger. So our brains evolved to be exquisitely sensitive to signs of acceptance or rejection. When someone close to us withdraws emotional warmth, even subtle, it triggers an ancient alarm. Am I still valued? Am I still safe? The person withholding may not even know they're doing it, but the effect is the same. You begin to chase what's being pulled away. Notice the emotional gap. Pay attention to mismatched energy. You offer excitement, vulnerability, or joy. They offer politeness, distraction, or silence. This gap is information, not about your worth but about the relational dynamic. Affect theory tells us that emotional resonance is necessary for secure attachment. When one person consistently underresponds, the other begins to self-regulate through suppression, not safety. You're not healing. You're hiding. Track your self-editing. Do you find yourself downplaying achievements before sharing them? Hesitating to express excitement? Wondering if your feelings are too much? That's not self-awareness. That's preemptive shrinking. Your nervous system is trying to avoid the discomfort of unmet enthusiasm by lowering your own emotional expression. This is rooted in self-silencing, a concept from relational psychology. When emotional bids are repeatedly unmet, people learn to suppress their needs to preserve the relationship. But what you're preserving isn't connection. It's quiet loneliness, dressed as love. Watch for the reversal. Often, the person who withholds enthusiasm will expect you to celebrate them, become hurt or cold if you mirror their energy back, and accuse you of being unsupportive when you stop trying. This asymmetry is the signature of the pattern. This reflects narcissistic supply dynamics, not necessarily clinical narcissism, but a relational imbalance where one person expects to receive what they are unwilling to give. You become their audience. They become your judge. Recognize the anxiety spiral. Withholding enthusiasm doesn't just hurt in the moment. It creates ambient relational anxiety. You start scanning for clues, interpreting small things, trying to figure out what you did wrong. This is your brain trying to regain control over an unpredictable environment. This is anxious attachment activation. When safety cues are inconsistent, the attachment system becomes hyperactivated, leading to rumination and emotional scanning. You're not overthinking. You're trying to survive uncertainty. Understand the emotional hostage effect. Here's the subtle cruelty. When someone withholds enthusiasm long enough, the rare moments they do give it feel like a gift. You feel relief, gratitude, closeness, and that relief binds you tighter to the pattern. This is trauma bonding later, relational dynamic where pain and relief cycles create disproportionate attachment to small moments of warmth. You start celebrating breadcrumbs like they're banquets, and that's when you know the dynamic has you. Here's what's really happening. Withholding enthusiasm is a form of relational leverage. It shifts the emotional economy. One person controls the supply of validation. The other tries to earn it. And over time, this creates a hierarchy not of dominance, but of need. The person who withholds doesn't have to pursue. They don't have to prove who's weight, and the other person, driven by attachment, anxiety, and intermittent reinforcement, doys to rest. This dynamic doesn't require malice. It can emerge unconsciously, especially in people with avoidant attachment styles, who learned early that excitement and emotional expression are unsafe. But whether it's conscious or not, the effect remains. One person's inner world shrinks. The other's expands into the space, and slowly, imperceptibly, you become a guest in your own relationship. If you recognize this pattern, you're not broken. You're not asking for too much. You're responding the way your nervous system was designed to respond when emotional safety becomes inconsistent. The question is not, how do I make them more enthusiastic? The question is, why am I willing to shrink to fit a space that doesn't celebrate me? Understanding this pattern doesn't mean you have to leave, but it does mean you stop blaming yourself for feeling less than whole. You stop performing for scraps of warmth, and you start noticing who matches your energy without you having to beg for it. Because the people who love you well don't make you rehearse your joy. They meet it, and that difference being tolerated and being celebrated is everything.